Julia Childs literally enrolls at Le Cordon Bleu, a culinary school that trains already excellent chefs to become world class.
Okay.
But Adam, she can even barely open a jar of pickles.
So she hasn't gone for beginners. She's literally gone to the best class. I feel like there should be something in between.
By the way, whenever Julia speaks, imagine Elmo's voice.
What? Like, tickle me Elmo?
Yes.
I need to, listen to her.
I read that it takes her 1 year just so she can nail down a foolproof recipe for their puff pastry recipe. The rest of the book ends up taking 10 years.
10 years? What is she doing in that time? Is she still learning to chop?
Yeah, maybe. And so they decide that they're going to give her own cooking show. It runs for 10 full years. Adam is extremely comical, extremely whimsical. She's like, get a sharp knife, because you can't do nothing without a sharp knife. Oh, now I've done it. I've cut the dickens out of my finger. She's like, I'm glad this has happened because now I can show you how to deal with it. Number 1, you must stop the bleeding. Welcome to The Compendium, an assembly of fascinating things, a weekly variety podcast that gives you just enough information to stand your ground at any social gathering.
We explore stories from the darker corners of true crime, the hidden gems of history, and the jaw-dropping deeds of extraordinary people.
As always, I'm your ringmaster for this week, Kyle Risi.
And I'm Adam Cox, the magician's rabbit for this week.
God, kill it!
That's the reason I've been brought in. All the rabbits died.
But you're massive.
It's temporary. But after all the lions ate the rabbits, Peter came in and had some words to say to us, so I'm having to stand in for the rabbit.
Peter the dolphin.
No, Peter. You know, Peter.
Peter, I thought you meant Peter the dolphin, the one that got jacked off by that woman.
Yeah, no, not
Which
that.
is my next question, because, if they're pulling you out of a hat, you don't have ears, so what are they pulling you by?
Well, no, I've got a little costume. Well, a big costume.
Oh, so they're pulling you by the costume ears. So not your penis then.
That's weird.
Well, I mean, you said Peter. My mind went to Peter the dolphin.
Okay.
Guys, if you are new to the show and you want to support us, then of course the absolute best way to support the show and enjoy exclusive perks is to just go ahead and join us over on Patreon because it's completely free. And you'll get access to episodes a whole 7 days before anyone else.
And for as little as $5 a month, you can become a fellow freak of the show, which will unlock our entire back catalogue of all of our earlier episodes.
I see what you've done there. You've not kind of said worse episodes.
Amateur
episodes.
We were still finding our way.
Rummaging around for our confidence.
Yeah, we used to go on and on about just shit that didn't matter.
But of course, Adam, to be honest, the real reason that anyone signs up to Patreon is because they want access to that dangling, glistening compendium keychain.
Yeah.
And the reason for that...
Because they need it near their crotch.
We just dived in there.
Yeah.
We didn't roll it out. We weren't seductive about it. We didn't keep them on a cliffhanger. Yeah, just dangle by your crotch, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, just there.
You're not going to find one of them in Topshop.
You're not.
And lastly, guys, please follow us on your favorite podcast app and leave us a review. Your support helps others find the show and keeps these amazing stories coming.
It really does. And we love getting the reviews. In fact, I was going through the other day, just I filtered on my emails of all form submissions and all the reviews that we've got. And actually, because we get them throughout the week, we don't ever get to see them all in one go. Do you know what I mean? So when we filtered upon them in the emails, there's just so many of them. But guys, keep them coming.
Yeah.
But Adam, that is enough of the housekeeping, because today on the Compendium, we are diving into an assembly of espionage paperwork, Parisian kitchens, and the strange path between them.
I'm sensing some kind of French chef that's also a spy.
Where'd you get the chef from?
We said the kitchens.
Oh, I did, yeah, but that could have been secret tunnel through the kitchens. But Adam, you are right.
There's a French chef spy?
Because over the weekend, I watched a little film without you. It's a film that you might know called Julia and Julia. It's the Nora Ephron film starring Meryl Streep and Stanley Tucci. Have you seen it?
Do you know what? I've seen the thumbnail or whatever of Meryl Streep and it said Julia, but I had no idea what it's about.
It's actually the story of a woman called Julia Child. So, of course, for our American listeners, you will know exactly who she is. But here in the UK, she's not that well known, but she's a very important person in kind of like American pop culture. She's how you would describe a national treasure.
Is she like Delia Smith?
Yes.
Ah,
yeah.
okay.
But even better than Delia Smith, because Delia Smith's got a seriousness about her.
You haven't heard her like shout to the Norwich football fans.
I have. Yeah. I don't want to get into that. So basically, Julia Childs was this American culinary icon who ended up revolutionizing home cooking by doing something that was very difficult at the time, especially for an American, and that was demystifying French cuisine through her very famous cookbook called Mastering the Art of French Cooking.
Demystifying French cuisine.
Yeah, just making it very easy.
I was going to say, so what's so mysterious about French cuisine?
The biggest problem, I'm so sorry, American listeners, it's because the American listeners use imperial measurements. And so when French cooking books were coming out of France, they were all just in metric. Whereas the Americans were like, we use cups and we use spoons and whatever it might be. So it was really difficult to get really exact measurements.
Ah, I see.
Yeah,
it's like,
that's one of the reasons why.
What are these people measuring in?
I'll have a desk of Cheez-Its, please. And at the time, this cookbook was just huge. And Adam, it still is. It went on to sell like 100,000 copies in its first 5 years, which for the time is really impressive. And from there, Julia busts out into this national treasure across America. So the film, Julie and Julia, is a sort of a biography about her life. But what makes Julia and Julia really special was the way that it told the story of Julia Childs.
Okay.
While it's a biopic, it's told in a parallel with another story that takes place in New York in 2002. So on one track, you've got Julia Childs in Paris. She's nearly 40 years old. She's about to stumble on the thing that is going to change her life and make her become Julia Childs as we know it, right?
Okay.
But on the other track, you've got a woman called Julia Powell. She's 29. She's living in New York City. It's 2002. And she's trying to build her career. Julia's job is actually processing insurance claims connected to victims of 9/11. So it is tough work, and she often has to obviously sit with these clients through their grief. So it's really awful. But while she cares about her job, she feels this pressure that's hanging over her because all of her friends are wildly successful and they're like living in New York. They're achieving big things. And while she doesn't hate her life, she has this feeling that she can't shake where she feels like she's not working towards something that belongs to her. She's doing everything for other people.
I see, yeah.
And so one day, she is brainstorming with her husband, and he suggests, why don't you go ahead and write a blog? And she's like, well, what would I even write about? And he's like, you're quite good at cooking. Why don't you give that a go? And she says, sure, but like I might enjoy cooking, but I'm no Julia Childs. And he replies, Julia Childs wasn't always Julia Childs, right?
Ah, I see. So this woman in New York, if she just starts her blog, maybe she'll end up like Julia Childs.
Exactly. So Julie decides that she's going to go and cook every single recipe from Julia Child's world-famous cookbook, Mastering the Art of French Cooking.
And does she go like, this is terrible?
At first it is, yes. And actually, Adam, she has to cook 524 recipes in 365 days. And she is going to write about the entire process as she goes. And it is completely unhinged, but it's also extremely brilliant. And as Julie's year spirals into this obsession, the film keeps cutting back to Julia Child's original story. And so that's how this biography is actually told. And both of these streams are 100% factual. They're both true.
So the person in New York, did she get famous then?
Yeah, she became famous by doing this exact thing. So it's so interesting that they managed to tell the story of Julia Childs, this incredible kind of celebrated chef, in parallel with this woman that goes off to try and make something that is hers.
So what you're saying is if I start cooking Julia Child's recipes but putting it in a new medium, I could become the next Julia Child?
But here's the thing, right? This is why I'm telling the story today. Because watching it really hit me in the feels. Because it's not really a story about cooking. It's a story about becoming, about choosing a thing and committing to it. Even when you think it's too late in your life to take on something new, this story proves that it never is. You can do anything that you want at any age. Like, as Judge Judy said, Like, she didn't start doing what she did when she was like in her 60s. And look how successful she is now.
She started judging in her 60s?
I want to say maybe 50s.
You don't actually know.
If it's 60s, it's too late. No, I'm joking.
There is a time to just stop.
But here's the thing, though, because watching the film took me back to this podcast origin story. Because for us, it just started off as a passion project, right? Like, we knew nothing about setting up a podcast, but we learned everything as we went. And we're still learning today. Like, we don't pretend to be anything other than who we are. And while some days are incredibly rewarding, especially, obviously, the amazing community that we've built around us, other days are really hard, to the point that some days I think this will literally be the last episode. And this isn't our last episode. Disclaimer. I'm not saying we're done, but some days are really hard.
Yeah, it does take a lot of work.
And a lot of patience for your co-host.
Oh, wow.
And the weird part is like stopping almost does feel like it's just impossible, because it's not like a sunk cost fallacy thing that's going on. It's because we prescribe meaning to what we do. Mm-hmm. And so part of the reason we started the show, as a lot of our listeners know, is because my very good friend Candace died. And before she died, she told us that we could actually do this. And so giving up on the podcast is almost like giving up on part of her legacy. Mm. So that's kind of one of the things that keeps me also doing this as well, to kind of preserve her memory. And that's what this film captured for me when I was watching it, right? It reminded you it's never too late to start a thing that you've always wanted to do. And when you keep going with it because you refuse to be beaten, it can pay off commercially. But even if it doesn't, the important lesson is that you're still left with something that you have physically built yourself that you can be really proud of. So Adam, today, anyway, the point is, I'm going to tell you the story of Julia Childs, a woman I never expected to be making an episode about. I'm going to tell you about her very comfortable beginnings, from her secret government work, her arrival in Paris, and of course, the post-war years, all while she, of course, pursued this passion for food and all the success that followed.
So she started doing secret government work?
Yes, there's this theory that she was a bit of a spy at the time.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
I want to hear all about her.
Yes. Okay, so let's dive into it. So Julia Carolyn McWilliams was born in 1912 in Pasadena, California. So Julia is the youngest of three siblings. Her younger brother was John III. Her sister was Dorothy. Her mother was Julia Carolyn, and actually she is an heiress to a paper company fortune from a very prominent Massachusetts family. Massachusetts? How do I say it weird? I guess Americans are entitled to have their own weird kind of pronunciations. We have like Worcester and Loughborough and Slough.
That's true. Slough.
The point is, her mother's side of the family is like rich money. And her father, he's a guy called John McWilliams, and he is a successful real estate investor. And so while they were very comfortable, to give you a sense of just how comfortable they were, in Julia's autobiography titled Julia's Kitchen, she writes about how their family once took a trip to Tijuana in Mexico during the 1920s. It was during the height of the Prohibition era in America.
That's when alcohol was banned.
Banned alcohol, no drinking, no cocktails. And so the only legal way to enjoy a couple of drinks was to pop over the border into Mexico. But a couple of margaritas weren't just on the cards. They were also there to specifically meet and eat at Cesar Cardini's restaurant, specifically to try his brand new dish that at that moment in time was sweeping across the world.
What was that?
The Caesar salad.
Really? That's Mexican?
Yeah, it's made in Mexico.
No way.
I think Caesar is Italian, but he was working as a chef in Mexico. And so to give you a sense of their privilege, this journey allowed them to do that. That's how rich they are, that they jumped over the border to another country just to try a Caesar salad.
I mean, a Caesar salad is okay, but to travel to another country...
Yeah. But it's wild to imagine a world where you know what a Caesar salad is, but you can't get it.
Yeah, I guess so.
Isn't that weird?
It's banned.
Like, you can't even make it, right? So you have to travel just to try it. It's just wild. And the story of its invention is actually really interesting. Apparently, it was invented on a July 4th celebration. So Tijuana ends up getting overrun with all the Americans hopping over the border just to celebrate, because they obviously can't stay in America if they want to drink, right? And
right.
Every motherfucker wants to drink. And so Caesar either forgets it's July 4th weekend, or he doesn't anticipate the number of guests that he's going to get. And so as a result, he runs out of ingredients, and in a panic, he scrambles to throw a few things together. He combines romaine lettuce, parmesan, lemons, olive oil, I think eggs, Worcestershire sauce, croutons. What else is in it? I think garlic.
And chicken.
No chicken at this moment in time.
Oh, so it was just lettuce and cheese?
I know. What's the point?
And people were crossing the country for this?
Yeah.
No.
So he was feeling like it might be just a little bit too basic. He was like, and customers would be like, what the fuck is this? So he jazzes it up a bit by deciding to toss the whole salad at tableside. So it's a bit of a show to kind of like cover up the shit. There's no chicken. So if you put chicken in it, then you won't need to toss it at tableside.
True.
And he was like, voila, the Caesar salad is basically born. Of course, over the years, it's been adapted slightly with the introduction of the Caesar dressing. And so it didn't even have Caesar dressing.
What?
I know.
That's not a Caesar salad.
I know. It was then.
But I think the thing is, these customers, they're all drunk. They probably are not even caring. They're like, oh, this is so good. And they're like stuffing it down their face. And he's, wow, I've made something good here.
They can't be that drunk for it to then sweep the world and people to come from all over.
Yeah, I don't know. I think people just like, they have it and then they remember, like the memory of it was better than actually having it.
Oh, do you think? I love a good Caesar salad now.
Yeah.
But of course, over time, they've added anchovies, chicken, obviously the Caesar dressing, things like that. So yeah, that is the origin stories of the Caesar salad, but also gives you an understanding of how privileged Julia Childs is as a young woman.
I see. You said she had a comfortable upbringing.
She did, yeah. And so for college, Julia, she ends up attending Smith College in Massachusetts. She gets stuck into a ton of different things, theater, creative writing. And for sports, she makes the women's basketball team. And that's because she's famously 6'2", which is very tall, even by male standards.
Yeah, that's
for the 1930s.
That's very tall. What did she eat?
Other people.
I thought it was like spinach or something.
I don't know. She's just really tall woman. But eventually in 1934, Julia, she graduates with a degree in history and decides that she wants to move to the big city. She wants to go to Manhattan. She's going to make it as a writer. Who else do we know that's trying to do that?
I've forgotten her name.
Nellie Bly.
Yeah, that's her.
She moved. Was this around at the same time, the 1920s? Was it
1800s.
Yeah. She manages to land a job as a copywriter in an advertising department for W&J Sloan, which is a really high-end furniture store. So not quite what she imagines going into. She's just writing about like kind of chest of drawers and wardrobes and boudoirs. I don't know.
Boudoirs.
Armoires is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
But she has to start somewhere. You know what I mean? Like we all have really shitty jobs that we started off. What was yours?
Call center. That was pretty bad.
Really? You in a call center? I thought your first job was that job I got you in that restaurant.
No, I was selling Reader's Digest.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought you were selling Reader's Digest door to door with your brother.
No, that was the Alton Broad Chronicle, I think. Something like that.
So where did you get those from?
Oh, we made it. We printed it. I went door to door. I was a salesman. I was getting money off our neighbors.
How old were you?
Like 5.
And your brother?
12.
Did he go with you to the door?
No, he waited on the end of the driveway and it was me that had to go to the door.
Just sucker you into going up to the door. I guess you were cute and you looked Asian. So who's going to say no to an Asian kid?
There's a foreign kid at our door.
Call the police!
Give him money. He's clearly poor.
The thing is, though, Adam is white as they come, but he looks like Knick Knack when he was a kid. So if you don't know who Knick Knack is, Google that right now and you'll understand exactly what Adam looked like when he was a kid.
Yeah, that's
Either
true.
that or Russell from Up.
Yeah, all right. Anyway, back to Julia.
Okay, so in 1937, her mother gets seriously ill and she will eventually pass away. But while she's ill, Julia decides to go back to Pasadena to try and take care of her. And she's absolutely devastated when she finally dies. It really, really impacts her and obviously the wider family. And so Julia decides that she's going to stick around for a couple of years just to help support the family and to get them to a position where they're stable before she decides to go back to New York. She does find a couple different jobs working for different publications, writing copy. But then, Adam, World War II breaks out. And just like many of her peers, she becomes determined to do her part. And so she tries to enlist in the Women's Army Corps, or the US Women's Navy, WAVES. So it's WAVES, which stands for Women Accepted for Volunteer Emergency Services. They really jimmied that in so they could get WAVES, right?
Yeah, otherwise, what else could they have spelled?
Why don't you just call it the Women's Navy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the Women's Navy, WAVES. Quick, we need an anagram for this.
Yeah, like, where are you going? Oh, to Waves.
Yeah. However, she's not accepted because on account of her being too fucking tall.
I was going to ask, is it because, they've got no uniforms that will fit?
Do you think that's it? I thought it was because no people will see you standing on deck.
You'll stand out, yeah.
So she's 6'2", so she's really tall.
Yeah, I reckon it's because they didn't have uniform for her.
Do you reckon? It could be. So instead, she decides that she's going to apply and is accepted to work for the Office of Strategic Services, or as the Americans called it at the time, the OSS, which is essentially the precursor to the CIA today.
Oh, really?
Specifically, she is assigned to work for the Office of War Information at their Washington, D.C. headquarters as a typist, which is a modest but a respectable start for the war effort, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it really doesn't take long for her experience and her education to set her apart from the other typists that are in the office. And so by 1942, on account of her being so tall, she's given more responsibility, getting the coffee from the top shelf.
No, I'm sure she did more than that.
No, she's now reporting directly, actually, to the head of the OSS, a guy called General William J. Donovan. And her job is actually a top secret researcher. And actually what she does is actually very cool. See, the military have a shark problem at the time, specifically with them interfering with ocean, like mines, like a landmine, but in the ocean. These are like large orbs that sort of float under the water. They're anchored by a rope to the seabed, and they have these spikes that kind of stick out to them. And so whenever a ship comes into contact with the actual mine itself, it will then explode.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is sharks will routinely interfere with them, setting them off or dislodging them, and they end up just floating away.
Mm-hmm.
So the OSS bring together a couple of scientists from the Harvard Museum of Comparative Zoology and the Field Museum of Natural History in Chicago, right? They've got a couple of scientists to come together. Along with Julia, she's going to be obviously their executive assistant, just assisting them with it, right? Because they're a scientist, she's their representative from the government, keeping an eye on them, making sure they're not like leaking anything off. But she's actually getting involved in the science as well. They end up testing more than 100 different combinations of chemical ingredients to create basically a shark repellent.
What, just put that in the water?
They're actually going to put the repellent inside the water.
But then surely that's just going to float away.
Exactly. So they have to do it every so often.
Right.
In the end, they come back with this kind of disc-shaped cakes made of a mixture of copper acetate and black dye. Basically, you go off into the shark-infested waters where these mines are and you drop one of these cakes in. It gives off this massive kind of cloud, which mimics, actually, the smell of rotting shark flesh.
Oh.
Which I thought was interesting because you would think it would do the opposite, right?
Is that because they'll smell like one of their own and think, oh, someone's died, I'll better stay away, there's danger?
Exactly. So if it smelled like rotting anything else, the sharks would be like, yum.
Yeah.
But because it smells like one of them, there's like, ooh, danger kind of thing. Do you know what I mean?
That's pretty smart.
So smart.
Do we still use that technology today?
Yes, they do, actually. So it wasn't perfect, but it did the job around about 60% of the time. But the only problem is it would only keep the sharks away for like several hours. So if you have a really strong current, it would wash it away sooner. So that's what accounted for kind of the success rate of this repellent. And they still use the same formula today in survival kits in kind of space capsules. So they'll put the repellent on a lot of the capsules as they re-enter orbit, as they plunge into the ocean. It keeps the sharks away long enough for kind of NASA to then come along to retrieve the capsule.
Really? So as it's coming into orbit or into our atmosphere, it automatically goes on the capsule?
I don't know if maybe once you enter in as the capsule, like if there's people in it, like the Apollo mission, and you land in the ocean, in their survival kits, and maybe they take out a cake and they drop that into the water.
Or
But I thought they were always locked in there, so I
That's
don't
what
know
I
how it
thought.
puts it in there. But apparently they use it in, it says here, the survival kits on the early US capsules.
all I can think
Space
of is
capsules.
someone's got to like get out and like rub the
Yeah, or
rub
it's
the
like
capsule.
already got a coating on it. I don't know.
That's pretty smart though.
Yeah, but it keeps the sharks away long enough for NASA or whoever to come and retrieve the capsule.
That's cool.
So she does that for like a year. But then in 1944, Julia is posted to Sri Lanka, where they want her to process a huge volume of classified OSS communications that are sort of coming out of the war effort. So like across Europe, there's like loads of communications going on and secrets being exchanged and like they're intercepting signals and stuff. And she's basically processing all that information. Weirdly enough, at the time, she's actually working under the leadership of Lord Mountbatten.
Oh, really?
Yeah, of course, we know him as the great-grandson of Queen Victoria, making him Queen Elizabeth II's second cousin, I think? Is that how? I think it's second cousin, yeah.
Something like that.
So she's basically working directly with him. But then she gets posted to China, where she works as a registry chief.
Uh-huh.
So doing something basically similar to what she was doing in Sri Lanka. And so at the end of her service, she earns an emblem of Materia Civilian Service, is what they call it, which is the second highest award that can be issued to a civilian employee.
Okay.
So she's very good at her job. But it's actually here in China where Julia's entire life shifts because she actually meets a man by the name of Paul Child, which, as the name suggests, is the man who will later
We'll marry her, I guess. Yeah.
become her husband. Yeah.
So Stanley Tucci.
Stanley Tucci. He's great. It's so weird that they are cast together, though, because you wouldn't really put them together as husband and wife. Do you know what I mean? When you see, imagine think about Devil Wears Prada, right? You've got Meryl Streep and then you've got Stanley Tucci as the assistant. You can't really see that dynamic of them being in a love interest together.
I guess not, but hey, they're actors.
They are, but also in real life, it's a perfect matching because she is so tall and he is so short.
She's not 6'2" there.
Well, actually, in the film, they do a lot of trickery with the angles. And so when she's cooking and stuff, she's obviously clearly standing on a box.
Right.
Because you always see her really bending over massively over the table. So she's almost at a 90-degree angle with her spine.
Really? And then how tall is Stanley Tucci?
He's very short, yeah.
Just comes up to her chest.
Her vagina, yeah. It's a marriage of convenience.
It's awful.
But Adam, the point is that their love story in the film, they're incredibly in love. And it seems to be the case that throughout their life, in real life, they were really in love. And they remain so until literally the end of their lives. And so Paul also works for the OSS. His job is actually designing and building war rooms for the general in China. So very cool. Paul is 10 years her senior. Julia at the time is in her early 30s. So that makes him in his early 40s. They hit it off almost instantly, and within a couple of years, Adam, they marry in Pennsylvania. And it's a real surprising low-key wedding considering the wealth that she comes from. It's a Sunday afternoon at Paul's kind of twin brother's riverside garden. They have only a few friends and family in attendance. Julia just ends up wearing this really modest but really pretty dress. It's just extraordinarily low-key.
Yeah, maybe it didn't matter. They're clearly in love. They just want to get married, that kind of thing, keep it low-key. How wealthy is she at this point in time then?
They're very comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Her mum is the heiress to a cardboard making factory, Adam. That's money.
I didn't realize that would pay so well.
I don't know how much it pays, but I hear heiress and I just think wealthy.
Well, anyone could be an heiress. I could be the heiress to the kibble downstairs.
Anything you want. I don't know how much money is in cardboard, but you do get the sense. I mean, if they're traveling all the way to Tijuana to try Caesar salad, that's money.
It's all the boxes, the money they've made from all the brown boxes they've made.
Yes. Well, that's what they do. They're selling brown boxes. I don't understand. You make it sound like it's this novelty. It's all the brown boxes that they're selling. Well, yeah, it's a cardboard making factory, Adam.
Yeah, and then when they released their green box line, it went wild.
Okay, because I've never seen anything like this before.
Spring is packed patios, parties, wedding weekends, and RK Zero Proof keeps you in the mix without the morning after regret. As the original Zero Proof Spirits brand, RK's warm molecule gives you that real deal burn of whiskey or tequila with none of the alcohol. 0 calories, 0 sugar, and a whole lot of freedom to enjoy the moment. Sip smarter this season at rkzeroproof.com. That's rkzeroproof.com.
You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you might not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
And here's the thing. To tell you Julia's story without Paul is to only kind of tell you half the story because they are incredibly connected and incredibly close throughout her entire life. Following their marriage, their entire life just becomes this cocoon of support and admiration for each other. And Paul's story is pretty interesting. Their mother was a woman called Bertha Child.
Sorry, that took me ages to get.
Her name is Bertha Child. And I'm like, yeah, she birthed 2 children.
What a fun name.
So as I mentioned, and I guess Bertha birthed 2 twin boys, Paul and Charlie. Their father ends up dying when they're about 6 months old. And it's not really referenced how in the film, but it must be that must be really tragic for you to lose your husband when you have 2 6-month-old kids. Do you know what I mean?
2 kids. One's hard enough.
Yeah, exactly. And even though they're twins, they're very different from each other. Charlie is described as a kind of the brawnier, louder, more charismatic of the 2, whereas Paul, he's more academic, he's more empathetic, he's a lot more sensitive than Charlie is. And I don't know whether or not the reason Paul is the way that he is because when they're kids, Charlie accidentally blinds Paul in his left eye with a fucking sewing needle.
What the hell were they doing?
I have no idea, but he ends up blinding him, which is the reason why Paul doesn't get to serve directly in the military because, of course, he gets disqualified.
Damn, maybe it was just an accident, but even still. Eesh.
It doesn't seem like there's any bad blood between them. But it does mean that he has essentially sacrificed an eye in order to meet, though, silver lining, to meet his soulmate. Because, of course, if he hadn't been blinded, he would never have met Julia.
That's the thing. Sometimes it sets you on a path, right?
That's right, yeah. Lose an eye. Don't worry. It's for a reason.
You'll get a wife.
You'll get a wife. But it doesn't really hold him back either. Like, he becomes a black belt in judo. He's a really talented perspective drawer, hence why he's designing literal war rooms for the government. He's also an incredible photographer as well. But also, he's never, ever arrogant or overconfident about it. He's just super relaxed. He's super reserved. And in the Julia and Julia movie, Stanley Tucci, he is an incredible casting for Paul.
Yeah, he's in a lot of good movies, Stanley Tucci.
But he always plays that chilled, calm, collected kind of character, which is perfect for who Paul was.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, even in like Hunger Games, even though when he's that presenter, he's still smooth presenter, even though like people are going off to their death.
He definitely has that warmth about him, that likability about him. And he's extremely popular and he excels in everything that he does. But I do feel bad for Paul because even though they're twins, Charlie is clearly the favorite in the family. So much so that Bertha's boyfriend only pays for Charlie's tuition to Harvard. And for Paul, he only gets to go to Columbia, but only for 1 year. If he wants to continue going, he has to come up with the money himself.
And does he?
I'm not quite sure, actually. I think after that, he just decides to go traveling. But that's the weird thing, though. Like, it was Paul who was the one who was blinded in the eye. You would think that would make Paul the favorite. But no, Charlie becomes the favorite. So he was the blinder, not the blindee.
Yeah, but just because he's partly sighted doesn't mean he gets automatic sympathy.
I think that warrants it.
Yeah.
I think he gets a little bit of sympathy. If I have to go through being blinded in my left eye and I don't get anything for it, no.
Hey, that's not how the world works, I'm afraid.
It is these days. Victimhood is victorhood. So after Paul graduates through the 1920s and the 1930s, he works in Italy and France as a private tutor, and he really refines his skills as a painter and a writer. He even begins writing poetry. In the film, they feature some of the letters from Paul to his brother Charlie, and I'll read some of them out later. They are just so beautifully and so effortlessly written for just a basic communication letter. This is just him in his kitchen saying, yeah, I'm watching Julia do some cooking.
And they're based on real letters then?
They are actual real letters that they read out during the film.
Maybe she has a way of how she cooks that's so beautiful and serene. I don't know.
Yeah, but there's some certain things that you do that I watch and I go, this is making me feel all like, I don't know, serene.
Or nauseous.
Yeah. Is he cooking there? Has he put too much salt in there? But at this point, Paul also has a very refined palate. He's really into kind of all sorts of cuisines from around the world because he's traveled so much, right? Which is a huge cause of anxiety for Julia. She cannot cook at all. All she wants to do is just to be like the best partner she possibly can be.
So she's going to learn.
Yeah. She wants to be a good wife. Mm-hmm. But in all honesty, Paul doesn't care. Like, he doesn't give a shit. At the end of the day, if he wants a nice meal, they'll just go out to a restaurant.
I thought you could say, you know what? It's not that bad. No, he will just leave. He'll go eat somewhere else.
Yeah, no. I mean, he would never, turn his nose up. But they have the means at this moment in time. He's working for the OSS, right? Mm-hmm. And they're getting their apartments paid for. They can go out and eat wherever they want at the finest restaurants. And so after Paul and Julia get married in 1948, Paul joins the United States Foreign Services. He is assigned to work in the United States Information Agency in Paris. This is a bloody wild job, Adam. It's super interesting. He's basically curating and promoting American art exhibitions across France. Basically going off to set up all these different galleries to showcase kind of American artists as a form of propaganda.
Really? So were France and Europe facing a lot of art from Russia?
Yeah, I think they were just trying to change sentiment, to show, actually, this is what life is like in America. It's all about freedom.
Right.
That kind of messaging. But they're actual art galleries and they're really promoting kind of American culture.
That, to me, suggests they've got far too much money.
Yeah.
What are we going to use this money for? To promote art.
Yeah, it's just wild. And so they moved to Paris. It's new. It's really quaint. They're, of course, just married. So they're deeply in love in this new city. Julia can't cook. And so Paul takes her to the finest restaurants Paris has to offer. And her favorite by far is Pret a Manger.
Really? As in the chain?
Yeah. It's in Airport 2, Terminal 1.
I see.
No, it's a place called Chez Georges, but also Le Grand Verfort. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
You're probably not.
Well, they're very famous restaurants in Paris at the time. And she describes going there as being like a culinary revolution. It's the first time. Like, she's really into her food anyway, but like experiencing kind of fine French cuisine is like eye-opening for her.
Do you remember one of the restaurants we went to in Paris? It was really nice. It was an Italian.
Where was that? Was that the one near the Sacre Bleu?
No, it was I think it was like Mama's, something like that.
Was that the one where we had a big fight because I was so full and I didn't want to eat? And we had the arancini balls, and you were like, "Oh, you're not going to eat that?" And I was like, "No." And then we had this big fight.
That was in Milan.
Oh crap! I don't know where we are. That's all to say to me. We have so many fights. I can't remember this one.
Yeah.
Where was it?
No, the fact that our best meal in Paris was Italian.
Adam, I cannot remember the meal.
Maybe you weren't there.
We've only been to Paris together.
Maybe that was with the other Kyle.
The point is, these are the restaurants that she gets introduced for the first time to kind of things like oyster and caviar and things like that. She literally says it was an opening up of the soul and spirit for her.
All these taste sensations.
I would never try caviar and go, taste sensation, and go, oh my God, I've changed my world. It's like, they taste like salty spunk and eggs.
I'll have another sip.
Could you bring Peter the Dolphin? You'll have to listen to our Peter the Dolphin episode to understand that reference, guys. So in Paris, Paul is off doing all these different things for work and stuff. He's really settled himself in. He's going to different galleries. Obviously, he's taking Julia, and Julia's obviously settling in as well, but she's not doing anything. And so she really wants to find something to really occupy her time when Paul is not around. And Paul suggests during dinner one night, like, why don't you try like hat making? She tries it. She fucking hates it. He then suggests, why don't you try bridge club? So she joins a bridge club. She cannot stand any of the women there, so she hates that too. She then decides to try her hand at cooking because she wants to do something special for Paul, right? But there's an issue because the only French cookbooks that she can get her hands on are all in French. And so she decides that she's going to first learn how to speak French. But she hates that too.
And she's in France. I feel like she just needs a positive attitude.
I think it's like it's too much time. Like, in order for her to do the things she wants to do, like French cooking, she has to learn the language first. But then that's taking too long. She's not really picking it up. So she's like, but I don't want to have to go through this in order to do this.
Is there like a cooking school with a translator?
Exactly, Adam.
Really?
So she decides that she's going to enroll in a cooking class. I don't know if this is an oversight on her part or if this is just, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this big. Because, Adam, she literally enrolls at a place called Le Cordon Bleu, which is basically a culinary school that trains already excellent chefs to become world-class. And she can even barely open a jar of pickles.
But because she's got the money, this is why she can afford this kind of school?
Yeah, she can afford it. I don't think she knows what she's getting herself into.
So she hasn't gone for beginners. She's literally gone to the best class.
Well, she enrolls. They do place her in an introductory class for kind of housewives, really wealthy housewives. And like the level we're talking is everyone is standing there. They're all eagerly got their little notepads and they're listening to the instructor talking. And the teacher's like, so this is a spatula? And they're all like, oh, and they look down the rack. And Julia's like, what the fuck is this shit? And she's like, I know what a cooking utensil is.
Really?
So she goes to the school pariah test, like a woman called Madame Elizabeth. And she's, listen, you must have something more challenging than just literally boiling an egg. By the way, whenever Julia speaks, I have to say this now. Imagine Elmo's voice. Because she speaks like Elmo. Her voice is Elmo.
What? Like Tickle Me Elmo?
If you watch any of our cooking videos, for our American listeners, they'll get it. But for anyone else across the world, Julia Child speaks like Elmo.
I need to listen to her.
Hold it up to the microphone, I guess.
If you love good food, but you work all day, take heart. Get a chicken breast in an empty wine bottle and make chicken Kiev. Or saute of chicken on.
It does not look appetizing.
Do you understand what I mean by the voice?
Oh my God, that's
creepy. That's Elmo.
And I'm supposed to trust her cooking?
So, Julia's, you must have something more challenging than boiling an egg in Elmo's voice. And Madame Bassat is, yeah, we do, but those are top tier kind of classes for men specifically. And Elizabeth is like, plus, we don't think that you can afford those classes. It's very expensive. Do you know what I mean? And Julia's like, bitch, try me. Just how much the fuck is it? And then in the end, she ends up joining a 1-year program with 11 other male students who are all studying to be world-class Michelin chefs, and she can't even chop an onion.
Hang on, but she's gone from, I want to do something more than boiling an egg to becoming a world-class chef. I feel like there should be something in between.
You think so? Maybe they just didn't have something in between.
No intermediate course.
No, this is all we've got. It's either introductory cooking for kind of housewives. We'll show you how to open up an oven. They'll write down notes. Okay, there's a hinge there, yeah. Then what? And then you turn it on. Does anyone know what it does? And they're like, makes things cold? No, it heats things up like, oh, wow, and they'll write that down. That's how basic we're talking. So she joins this class. Her teacher is a guy called Max Bugnar. Imagine kind of the short head chef from Ratatouille, but he's got a lovely face rather than having the mean face, right? And one of her first tasks is prep. And they have to chop a shit ton of onions with speed and technique, like what you see on telly, right? When you see a chef going, it's like, boom, done. They're all busting through their piles of onions, right? Julia's there, literally, she's sawing hers. She cannot cut an onion. The other chefs are like, who the fuck is this lady? And remember, she's 6 foot tall, so she's taller than everyone in this class. So she's towering above them all. But the point is that by the end of their day, she clearly knows that she's at a massive disadvantage. And so when she goes home, she's just chopping onions.
To practice.
Yeah, that's it.
But there's other
Hundreds
vegetables,
of them.
Julia. Not only, once she's like conquered onions, she needs to do carrots, garlic,
That's exactly right.
courgettes.
Exactly right, yeah.
Oh, right. So
Yeah. But the thing is, though, like the difference between once you've mastered like cutting, let's say, a carrot is not that difficult to then master the onion, right?
there's different
But
textures, though.
but it wouldn't be too much difficult. She's starting with an onion, which means that she's got to cut through hundreds of different onions and then be like crying all the time. When she could have started with the carrots and then moved to the onions and go, okay, so I just need to adapt my technique here and there, maybe 10 onions, and then you mastered it, right?
Yeah, but
She started with onions and there's hundreds of them.
yeah, but it's a French course. Of course they're going to start with onions.
Start with the carrot.
Carrots and courgettes are not French.
The point is, Adam, she's literally in their apartment. She can barely even see. She's just crying, right? Stanley Tucci comes home. He's overcome with fumes. He can't even stay in the house because she's just like, what do you have for dinner? And he's like, I'm getting out of here.
That must,
He just leaves.
yeah, that stinks.
It did stink. But she keeps going until she mastered this technique of chopping an onion. When she goes back to school, it's prep day again. She'll just blast her onions in one go. And then she'll be like, I win.
And like now you've actually got to cook.
Yeah, they're like, calm down, bitch. There's like
That's prep.
so many other things we need to do now as well. Because now, like I said, she now has to learn how to julienne carrots, as an example, like into little matchsticks. So now it's back to square one. But the thing is, though, the point is that when she goes off and she masters how to julienne a carrot or whatever it might be, she really goes all out to the point where she really thrives at being underestimated and being told that you can't do this. And so she'll go off and she'll practice and she'll come back and then she'll like get this massive sense of satisfaction by showing everyone that they were wrong in a way. And maybe it's just the way her brain is wired, very mathematical, but she treats almost everything like it's a paint by numbers. If she knows exactly what to do, when to do it and how to do it, then she can execute it almost flawlessly. And when that doesn't work, it's almost never because she can't do it. It's because one of those three pieces is missing or is muddled, right? It's either the what, the when, the how. But most of the time, it's that failure point that gives her the clarity. The science hasn't been explained cleanly. She then goes away, she masters the logic for herself, and then she's right back at kind of painting between the lines again, if you will. So she's really incredible in that sense that she applies a methodical approach to literally everything that she does, which is basically, Adam, it's a recipe.
Yeah, she's got like a blueprint
She thinks like a recipe works in a way.
Yeah.
When the end result of the recipe doesn't work out, it's because the recipe is wrong. And this is why her recipes are so good, because she really masters every single step, from the technique to the ingredients to how much, the when, the how, the whatever.
To make it really simple for people to understand.
Exactly. And this is how she's able to succeed, because even in general life, it's follow the recipe, whether or not it's like cutting an onion or kind of going into a French kind of patisserie and ordering something. Follow the recipe and you'll be successful.
Yeah.
At some point, Julia ends up joining an all-women's gourmet club in Paris. It's kind of created in response to the fact that women aren't allowed in these kind of exclusive men clubs or culinary kind of classes that she's attending. She ends up meeting two women, a woman called Simone Beck and Louisette Bertoli. And they're both in the process of writing a French cookbook for Americans specifically.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So they think there's obviously a market for this then.
They want to tap into that market, yes, for sure. They end up bonding over what, like a bitch. the school's proprietress is, like Madame Elizabeth. Like, they don't go to the school, but Elizabeth has this kind of mean reputation around the gastronomy world. And they become really good friends. And it leads them actually to open up a school, which translates to the School of the Three Hearty Eaters.
Okay.
And so she's still learning how to cook at this point. Like, she's doing well, but she's opened up her own fucking cooking school.
Like, what's she going to be able to teach?
Specifically, they want to teach women how to cook.
Okay, fine. Like cheese on toast.
Yeah, cheese on toast, or how to cook a flambe or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I think that is definitely something that you have to step back and admire just for a second, right? This is a woman who did not know how to chop an onion 1 year ago, and now she's here teaching people how to cook.
Yeah, although she's basically ripped off another cooking school and be like, I can sell this. It's like the people online that kind of sell those online courses.
Yeah, but the thing is, I think about her experience that she's had as a woman, right? Being told, even by the proprietress of the school, who is a woman herself, being told that you will never make it as a chef. Mm-hmm. So I think what she's trying to do is like, yeah, I'm going to rip it off, but I'm going to make it approachable. There are people out there that want to learn how to cook. For whatever reason, it doesn't matter. Why should you have to gatekeep cooking French cuisine behind being a male?
That's true.
And again, it's one of those things that really resonates with me, right? Like, we knew nothing about podcasting or writing, but it's not something that ever stopped us, right? We just were like, let's just do it. Let's just see what happens. And so what they're doing is they're committed to making the school accessible to everyone. They only charge like a few dollars, so it's barely even enough to cover their costs at first. But Julia's loving it. She's pumping money into kind of essentially her passion. Mm-hmm. And so this goes on for a while. Meanwhile, Simone and Louisette are still busy working on their cookbook. But then they get the news that their book is actually rejected on account of the publishers not thinking it was clear enough for an American audience. Like, the language is a bit off. It again uses metric measurements, which of course the Americans don't use. And because Julia obviously has a background in copywriting, they approach her and ask her if she'll help them rewrite it. Of course, she agrees. And she gets to work. And I think the best way to describe her contribution is that she injects the science into kind of the recipes in the cookbook. A lot of the measurements in the recipes are described as just kind of just vibes. Like, like a dash of oil, or like a sprinkle of salt, or put some flour in there.
That annoys me because I'm always like, no, I need to know the exact measurements.
Exactly. And remember, Julia's 6 foot tall, right? So when the recipe says a bunch of tarragon, that's a lot of tarragon.
She's got big hands.
Exactly. Like, to her, a bunch is a bushel.
Yeah.
So Julia points this out to them, and Simone and Louisette are like, that doesn't matter. It doesn't really affect the outcome. And Julia's like, you already have women that are already intimidated by French cooking, right? If they pick up this book and they fail because of a vibe, you risk leaving them feeling deflated, and they may not even try again. Mm-hmm. So you need to be extremely exact. And also, every recipe needs to be thoroughly tested to make sure that the method is extremely precise.
And so when she was learning cooking in France, were they using exact measurements? I'm sure they weren't using like dashes and things, right?
I think they were, yeah. I think like when you are a chef, right, you have this instinct. And a lot of the time, you're not following a recipe as a chef, right? You're creating your own dishes. And so it's that translating from inside the chef's mind onto paper that isn't really done very well. So like, it's more of like an instinct for a lot of these people.
Yeah, because I guess a chef can probably tell that's a tablespoon of olive oil, but these other women are going, oh, it's a dash.
Exactly. Yeah. And so she goes off and she starts testing all the recipes in this cookbook. I read that it takes her 1 year, apparently, just so she can nail down a foolproof recipe for their puff pastry recipe.
It takes her a year to do that?
Just to do that bit, to master it. Because she was like, well, I followed all the instructions. It didn't really work, or this didn't work, or that didn't work. And so she's going through working out the exact science of making the perfect puff pastry. And she's like, okay, now that I've got that nailed down, now you go ahead and follow those instructions, and they get it nailed down first time. So she's like, it does all matter.
I see, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But even though, Adam, it takes her 1 year to kind of really refine the puff pastry recipe, the rest of the book ends up taking 10 fucking years.
10 years? What is she doing in that time? She's still learning to chop?
Maybe. It's just made even more difficult because of Paul's contracts. It ends up coming to an end. And so they have to obviously leave Europe. They end up traveling around. This means that all their collaboration on the book is all done through post. And remember, they can't just photocopy a set of pages and send them. There has to be all typed out. So everything's extremely slow. The thing that they've got that can really speed things up is like the carbon paper. So when they're typing on the typewriter, they can make 2 copies of it. But that is it.
Right.
You can't make infinite copies.
And so she's sharing it with these other women But it's taking. It feels like it's obviously not their primary focus. It feels a bit like a hobby at this point.
Yeah, it's probably not their main priority, but it ends up taking them 10 years. And this 10-year period is really sad for Paul. His job seems to be the only thing that gives him purpose, but it's also what affords them their current lifestyle that they have in Paris. It's because of his job that they end up staying in the finest French apartments, end up socializing with kind of the elites of Paris, eating in the finest restaurants, right? But after the war, lots of people start being investigated by the US government for being USSR spies. And Paul actually is one of them. And so Julia and Paul, they're ordered back to the USA where he ends up getting investigated.
Why do they suspect him then?
He's accused of supplying the Chinese with secret files. And it's because he likes photography and painting. They even accuse him of like vague homosexual tendencies. So
Really?
Like they're interrogating him and saying, do you enjoy the company of men? Or like...
Because
yeah,
he's
basically
artistic.
Exactly. Exactly. Basically, he isn't charged, but they do lose their entire lifestyle. And in the end, they end up living in just this really modest little house in Cambridge, Massachusetts. So it's goodbye to Paris.
So they lose their money then? Or...
They just don't have a salary coming in anymore, right?
I
Like
see.
he was getting paid really well before. And so that also makes this whole process of refining this cookbook over that 10-year period even harder, because now she has to essentially live in the United States away from Louise and Simone.
Yeah, although I thought she came from money, so maybe not that much money.
Like her mother had all the money. Of course, she died, but maybe she has to wait for her father to die before she can unlock that money. I like, they're not poor, they're not destitute, but they're certainly not living in the elite areas
Yeah.
of like Paris. There's nothing compared to that.
And not fine dining on a Tuesday.
Exactly. They're living in this small little town in Cambridge, Massachusetts. It's really sad because you also get a sense of how important Paul's work was to him and what it allowed him to do and how happy he was. And so you just feel like his glory days are kind of over in a way, and it's really sad because Paul is really wonderful. So you can't help but feel bad for him.
Yeah, but it sounds like at this point in time, it's now Julia's time to
It's
shine.
Julia's time. It's exactly that. Like all this free time basically means that he can invest that time in supporting Julia through just essentially this 10-year period. And the whole time she's testing recipes, she's writing them up, she's having to mail the manuscripts across the world. It's really stressful. They're arguing. One of the women, Louisette, she isn't doing anything essentially. So they're like planning on cutting her out. It's politics, babe.
Okay. So Julia only rises to fame not because of the other women, but with the help of the other women. It's not all her then?
Yeah, so her cooking book itself is credited with Julia Childs, Louisette, and Simone. Like all their names are on it. At one point, they question whether or not they would even just like have smaller writing for Louise's name, because like she ends up, I think she goes through a divorce or something, and she's always nipping out. Like they'll be in class together, or they'll be having a meeting. She'll be there for 10 minutes, and she has to go off. And then
Right.
she leaves them to do all the work.
So just because she was there at the idea's inception,
Yeah.
she's still hanging on to this clinging. It's my idea. You can't do this without me.
Exactly. But I think in the end, all three of the names are on the book. But in the second edition of the cookbook, it ends up just being Simone's and Julia Childs on there.
Interesting.
And then Julia goes off and does her own stuff. So,
Right.
yeah.
Spring is packed patios, parties, wedding weekends, and RK Zero Proof keeps you in the mix without the morning after regret. As the original Zero Proof Spirits brand, RK's Warm Molecule gives you that real deal burn of whiskey or tequila with none of the alcohol, 0 calories, 0 sugar, and a whole lot of freedom to enjoy the moment. Sip smarter this season at rkzeroproof.com. That's rkzeroproof.com.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
But by this point, Julia's literally pushing 50 years old. Paul is in his 60s. They don't have a huge amount of money, but he's dead set on building Julia a kitchen. Remember, Julia is 6'2", right? So she is always, in all the shots in this film, she's always bending over, like literally breaking her back, 90-degree angle every time she's chopping something.
I see. And I remember actually even my mum and dad's, their kitchen worktops are lower than ours. So I'm just trying to think back to like kitchen worktops because I feel like they've grown over the decades.
Yeah, people have gone bigger. Yeah, could be.
And so he wants to build her a kitchen because the kitchen that they've got is just too small.
I think what he wants actually is I think he wants to build like a European style kitchen because now they're back in America, right? And she's mastered kind of the art of French cooking. But he's like, well, okay, we can do this right. Because also when she's stirring, right, literally the pot of sauce is by her vagina. So she's like, ooh. Never stir anything when you're naked.
Is that what she says?
No, but I can imagine.
I mean, you could have just said near her waist.
Well, that's what it said in the notes. In her vagina. So, Paul, what a lovely afternoon of lovemaking. Let's go make us some tomato soup. She runs to the kitchen, grabs the pot out. She's still butt naked.
I don't know what
Splashes
to say.
herself with hot onion soup. She's like, ooh.
I don't know what kind of image this is.
Julia Childs. So, of course, Paul sets about designing the perfect kitchen. He makes sure all the counters and the cupboards are raised higher. He studies how she moves through the kitchen. Like, one of his favorite things to do is kind of just sit and watch her move through this kitchen.
But whilst it's too small for her, just like lumbering about.
No, I just think, I imagine her like the flailing spaghetti person as well, because she is quite animated as well.
Okay.
Is it the flailing spaghetti?
Inflatable tube men, Family Guy.
Family Guy, that's it. Yeah, I imagine her like that. She's very tall and lanky and just like, woo! In a way.
Like Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah, even worse than that. Skinnier and more flaily. But basically, he's studying her because he wants to ensure that everything is organized specific to her flow. She also likes plenty of hanging space as well, so she can physically see all of her pots and pans and utensils around the kitchen. She also likes to see all of her knives as well. So he has to build something where all of her knives can be on display. Adam, the bitch loves a knife.
Why does she like to see her knives on display?
I don't know. She just wants to know where her knives are.
Is she expecting Paul to steal one?
And like I said, his favorite thing to do is just watch her cooking. And it is like this slapstick comedy. She's also super clumsy, but also in this very unapologetic way. Like she'll flip an omelet and it'll just crash to the floor and she'll be like scoop the whole thing up and she'll be like, pretend like no one saw it.
What, she's going to serve an omelette that's been on the floor?
Yeah, Paul saw it though. But even when she's on telly as well, like it will fall on the floor and she'll scoop it up. She's like, no apologies.
And then she like makes it for the cameramen and they've got like reluctantly come round like, oh, there's a hair in this omelette.
Yeah. And so here's one of those letters. So imagine Paul sitting in his kitchen watching her cook, right? Watching her flailing about. He writes a letter to his brother Paul about watching Julia cook. And Adam, like I said, it is so beautifully and so effortlessly written for what it is. Now, as I read it, remember, imagine a tall Elmo in a kitchen.
Got you.
Dear Charlie, Julia in front of her stoves has the same fascination for me as watching a kettle drummer at a symphony. The oven door opens and shuts so fast you can hardly notice the dense thrust of a spoon as she dips it into the casserole and up to her mouth for a taste check, like a perfectly timed double beat of the drums. Then, with her bare fingers, she snatches out the cannelloni out of the pot of boiling water as she cries, "Damn, these things are as hot as stiff cocks!"
What? She actually means penises.
Yeah,
And so she's using her hands in boiling water.
yeah.
What the hell is going on?
But that's what she says. These cannelloni are like stiff cocks.
Then they need more time.
So anyway, eventually she gets her kitchen, she finishes the book is now ready, and they start approaching publishers, right? The trouble is they can't really get through the door, and it's really frustrating for them. But then Julia remembers an old friend of hers called Avis Devote, who might be able to help get them through the door. The trouble is they've never actually met before.
So what, are they like pen pals or something?
Exactly that. They are pen pals. Because in 1952, Julia is reading an article in a magazine by a guy called Bernard DeVerto. So that's Avis's husband, right? And it's all about kitchen knives, which Julia fucking loves a kitchen knife. It's very, very dull. It's talking about how terrible like American steel knives are in comparison to European carbon steel. Julia ends up writing back. She says, I agree with everything you said. And at the time, like Avis is acting as her secretary. And she's the one who ends up replying, right? Mm-hmm. Which ends up sparking this lifelong pen pal friendship between them, right?
All over knives.
Well, I mean, the knives were her and Bernard's thing. They obviously get on to more personal stuff between Avis and Julia. But apparently in their first 2 years, they exchanged over 100 fucking letters.
So she is able to do 100 letters in a couple of years, but she can't write a recipe book in a year?
Remember, she's mastering it.
I don't feel like she's focusing.
So when Avis learns that they're struggling to get their book seen by publishers, Avis offers to help using her connections in the publishing world, and she gets him a meeting with a company called Houghton Mifflin, which I love that word, Mifflin.
And what are they able to do for them?
Well, they love the book, basically. And their concern, though, is that it's 700 pages.
My God.
That's why it took them 10 years.
That's like a Harry Potter book.
And Julie and Simone, by the way, at this point, they're in the process of booting out Louisette. They're like, we envisioned that the book would be like 7 volumes, right? You could split them out. You could have sauces. You could have poultry, fish, meat, vegetables, desserts, and then an entire volume dedicated to eggs.
No, I'm sorry. You do not need a whole book on sauces.
You don't need a whole book on eggs.
You've got a book on eggs.
That's true. I love that book. You do need a whole book on eggs. No, because a big thing in French cooking is sauces.
I get that, but I don't know. A whole volume?
Yeah, that's it. The publishers, they're very patronizing because they say like, yeah, we don't want an encyclopedia. We thought this book was intended for housewives.
Yeah, they have no time for that.
So rude.
No, but they haven't got time for 7 volumes. They haven't got. I just need to read through the sources before I even get to making bread.
I don't know. I read that very differently. I found that very sexist for them to say, there's 700 pages here. We don't want an encyclopedia. We thought this book was intended for housewives.
The bit that I get for that, it needs to be quite practical, right?
Sure.
So they need to be able to get in there, make the recipe because they're running
I don't know.
out.
It just rubbed me the wrong way because this is a bunch of men in this boardroom telling these women what women want.
That I understand, yes.
Yeah. They're probably right, actually. I don't know. But it just came across really sexist.
And so what was the outcome then?
Oh, yeah, they rejected it.
And so what did Julia do?
They have to literally start from scratch. They have to rewrite all the recipes, make it a little more condensed down. But it's still very important for them to make sure all the recipes are exact. They decide that the only module that they can keep is the desserts one.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So obviously this ends up taking a few more years, right?
A few more years?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. This whole period is 10 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Eventually, they send out the manuscripts to a bunch of new publishers. Again, it gets rejected again and again, mostly on the basis that it's going to be too expensive for them to physically produce the actual book. But then one day, they receive a letter from a company called Knopf. Knopf.
Oh, PF?
Yeah.
Because there is a brand.
Knopf.
There's a food brand that was just Knopf.
Oh, it might be. It might be the same one.
But I thought it was
Knopf.
double F.
Oh, it might be.
I don't know.
I don't know. I typed this up. Anyway, the letter says, Adam, Dear Mrs. Child, we have read your superb French cookbook, studying it, cooking from it, estimating it, and so on. And we have come to the conclusion that it is a unique book that we will be very proud to publish. We believe that your book will do for French cooking in America what the Joy of Cooking did for standard cooking, and we will sell it that way.
Okay, well, I guess that other book was a big deal then?
Massive deal. Like it really kind of standardized kind of the whole art of cooking. They were like, we can sell the same book, but for French cooking in the same way that the Joy of Cooking can do.
I see.
And they end up giving her like an advance of $1,500, which is huge. I think that's the equivalent of $16,000 today. And then they go on to say, when we meet, which we hope will be very soon, we especially want to talk about the title of the book because it is of the utmost importance that the title distinguish this book from the other cookbooks that are on the market. And I think the original title of the cookbook was so shit. What's cooking in France? So they were like, the title shit. Need a better title.
And what did they land on?
Adam. In the end, they decide on mastering the art of French cooking, which you should already know. I've said it like 5 times.
I don't know. This book has been going on for like 15 years.
I've lost track of the title. And Adam, almost overnight, becomes an instant bestseller, despite the fact that Knopf does a minimal promotion of this book, right? If they'd done any promotion on it, it would have been even bigger. I think they sell like 100,000 copies in this first 5 years, which apparently is unhinged. Unhinged. It's like well ahead of every single French cookbook on the market at the time. And it comes down to their unique blend of the simplicity, the approachability, but also the pretty pictures, because it wasn't really something like that you got massively at that time in these cookbooks.
So actual photos?
Actual photographs, color photographs of the beautiful foods and stuff like that in the cookbook, which everyone loves a picture.
Yeah, now it's like almost pretty common.
And in the 60 years since it was published, Adam, it has never been out of print.
Really?
Isn't that crazy? I read in total it sold more than 1.5 million copies of the book across all of its editions. So it is a fucking big deal, this cookbook. Like even celebrity chefs all over the world have literally credited this book with inspiring them to get into cooking. Like Martha Stewart said, like the entire book inspired her entire career, and she still uses the references from the book even today.
Really?
That's
Wow.
big.
That
That's
is.
Martha Stewart, man.
That's like, I don't know, there's certain books like Charles Dickens and stuff
I
like
thought you were going to
that.
say Playboy.
I don't know. In terms of just like these ones that always stand out, this is what I guess a cookbook is.
Like one of the classics, right? A reference book, or just always used. And it is, I hear it always today. People reference it in pop culture, like Mastering the Art of French Cooking, or people have plays on the title for their own stuff because they're emulating the success or how big of a classic the book is. Do you know what I mean?
What about French people? Did they like read it and go, that's not French cooking?
No, I think they were pretty impressed by it.
Really?
Yeah.
It's
I
not
mean,
like when we have Chinese now, it's like, that's not actually what they eat in China.
No, I think very authentic cooking is what she came up with. All the recipes are. I mean, remember, they were French people. Like Louisette and Simone, they were French anyway, right? She didn't come up with these recipes. She only just refined them, tweaked them.
Translated them.
Exactly. She did all that work. Anthony Bourdain, he says Julia's book was revolutionary for him, making French cooking accessible without dumbing it down, like calling her pure genius. And that was the other big thing about it, was making something that was seemingly very unapproachable as French cooking feel very approachable. And Adam, this is just the start of her career. Like at this moment in time, she's just hitting 50, right? And so following the book's release, everyone wants to interview her. The thing that catapults her television career is when in 1962, she appears on like a channel called, like in America, they've got these weird names for their channels, like WGBH TV in Boston.
Yeah, really weird acronyms or something.
Yeah, really strange. And then they like call her in to discuss a book. And there's just something about her, like her carefree, unapologetic kind of sort of attitude. Like she's like, don't ever try and make things perfect. It just ends up really resonating with the people, the viewers. And so they decide that they're going to give her own cooking show. And it ends up being called The French Chef. It debuts like a year later. It runs for 10 full years. And as well as being educational, Adam is extremely comical, extremely whimsical. After I watched Julia and Julia, I just sat and watched all these old clips of Julia Childs cooking, and it is comedy gold.
Why was she doing?
Adam, she's clumsy, like lots of flailing. Remember, she sounds like Elmo as well.
She's sticking her hand in boiling water.
Yeah.
Like, no, health and safety.
It's just her personality and her character on screen. It's just something that you just cannot forget. And it's not always like this. It's not a constant slapstick from the start to finish. There are just moments in it that if you condense it down, you could have a perfect reel of a slapstick comedy.
I have got this impression of like her banging her head on things, like setting fire to her cardigan or something.
Exactly. So actually there is this SNL skit that perfectly captures what she is like. It's Dan Aykroyd pretending basically to be Julia Childs. And he's in the process of preparing a chicken. And he's like, get a sharp knife, because you can't do nothing without a sharp knife. And like he's deboning the chicken basically, and he accidentally cuts his finger. And he's like, oh, now I've done it. I've cut the dickens out of my finger. And like there's blood pouring out. It's sloshing all over the meat. It's spraying up her dress all over her face. And she's like, in a way, I'm glad this has happened. I don't know why I'm British. Why am I British? She's, I'm glad this has happened because now I can show you how to deal with it. Number one, you must stop the bleeding. She's like, put pressure on it like so. And she like grabs a tea towel and she puts pressure on it. Like the tea towel, it doesn't work at all.
It's still gushing blood.
It's still gushing blood. She's like, oh dear. She's like, I now recommend natural coagulates, like chopped liver or something like that. And so she grabs some liver and she puts it on there. It doesn't work. It's still spraying everywhere. She's now stumbling and she's slurring her words. And she's like, ooh, if you feel woozy, try to tighten the torquettes, then you should probably call for emergency services. Call for help. There's not much time. And then she says, every kitchen should have an emergency number written on it somewhere. She picks up the phone. She's like, this one doesn't. She starts dialing and blood is still splattering all over the walls and the phone. And she's like, oh God, this phone's just a prop. It doesn't work. And then she's like, why are you all spinning? And everyone's spinning around. And then she's like, I think I'm going to go to sleep now. And then she just passes out. And now that's just a parody, but Adam, it gives you an excellent flavor for who she is.
I mean, how much of a parody is that?
Not much. Like, what I'm saying is you can always see that glimmer of that type of personality when you condense it down, when you concentrate it. You can
something going to go wrong.
Yes. Yeah. But in real life, she'll frequently do like really erratic things. Like I said, she'll flip the omelet and it'll just fall on the floor. She'll scoop it up, or she'll like reveal the cake and it looks like shit and she'll just pretend it looks amazing. And she's always about, it doesn't have to be perfect. Don't ever apologize, right? If you don't tell anyone this is wrong, they're not going to know.
Look, we saw you drop it on the floor and put it back on the plate.
Oh, bless her. I think at one point she even sets fire to the kitchen.
That sounds about right.
And it's still going on in the background, and the crew like trying to put it out.
Well, yeah, because I guess she's got very precise minutes, right, to cook this recipe.
Yes. And of course, every episode, she signs off with her very famous catchphrase, where, again, in Elmo's voice, she'll be like, see you next week, bon appetit! And then, like, it'll sign off, and then, oh yeah, that was her thing. And her show becomes, Adam, the first educational program to win an Emmy Award. Like,
really?
The first of their category as well, which makes the award even bigger. Because to be the first, like, this was so good that we're going to create an entire category for it, and you're the first recipient.
Nice.
That's big.
Yeah. And is she just spending 10 years just going through her same cookbook? Or is she like coming up with new recipes?
Oh, no. Like, Adam, her career is catapulted now. She's writing books left, right, and center. Like, this period marks the start of a string of cookbooks, many of which are actually illustrated by Paul through his skills through kind of photography and stuff. Each book is just as successful as the one that came before it. But mastering the art of cooking always remains like the jewel in the crown. I think there's 3 volumes in it now. She's winning awards left, right, and center. It's literally impossible to keep up with her at this point. But her awards include like a Peabody Award in 1965. She, of course, wins her Emmy in 1966. She wins the National Book Award in 1988, a Daytime Emmy in 1996, and again in 2001. In 2000, I think like she earns the French Legion of Honor Award as well. In 2003, she gets like awarded the US Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Wow, just for like cooking beef bourguignon.
Yeah, bourguignon, yeah. Yeah. She's also given several honorary doctorates as well from Harvard University, Johnson and Wales University, University Smith College. I think even Brown University gives her an award as well. You can literally barely keep up with all the honors and awards that she gets.
And this all kind of happened or kicked off for her like in midlife, which is amazing. Like
crazy.
She had quite an impressive first part of her life, right?
Yep.
And then all this fame and fortune later.
But it also like she spent 10 years sorting out this cookbook before the success came.
I mean, it makes sense calling it Mastering the Art of French Cooking, right?
Exactly.
Because she really did take
She
that.
really did, yeah. And I think if she had failed, I don't think it would have been this awful thing for her because she was doing something really passionate, right?
Mm.
And so at least if she didn't get the commercial success, she would have still been left with something that she could be really proud of. She learned how to cook. She did write a cookbook regardless of whether or not it was successful. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no way would she probably gone into that thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to have a TV show and all this.
And in total, she ends up publishing out of 20 books under her name and obviously in collection with other people. Again, it is such an incredible achievement for a woman who only got started in her 40s. She becomes one of the most famous cooks in the country. Like I said, she just is like a national treasure. A bit like, I don't know, who's a national treasure? Every time someone says national treasure, I can only think of 2 people.
Dame
Judi Dench. And the male equivalent is, you're going to say?
Ian McKellen?
I was going to say Stephen Fry.
Ian McKellen for me.
Really? But he's a Hollywood actor.
Yeah, but he's still a national treasure.
I think if I'd asked you to pick the male first, you would have picked Stephen Fry. But because I said Dame Judi Dench, because they're also connected, that's the reason why you picked her.
No, I'd also gone with David Attenborough.
Ah, yes, of course, yeah. Stephen Fry, David Attenborough.
So she did this in her 40s. I'm coming up to my 40s, although not this year.
Mm-hmm.
Soon. And so, yeah, I could still make it big.
You can. You are making it big. as the co-host of the compendium.
Yeah, we'll workshop it.
But it's like, yeah, I had to find some criticism. Like, she is a bit like Dolly Parton. Everyone can get behind the fact that she's amazing. No one has anything bad things to say about her. But the criticism that she does get is that she's absolutely obsessed with butter.
Oh, what? Just everything's got butter.
Everything has got butter in it, which they do obviously give nod to in the film as well. So look out for that if you do watch it. But like, you open up the fridge and it's just butter. Like, there's no other ingredients. But her argument is like, everything that is delicious in this world has a lot of butter in it. But when critics push back on her, she's like, we should enjoy food and have fun. But also, it's in a cookbook. We're not going to put shitty recipes in the cookbook so you can make mundane things. It's only going to be the great things inside a cookbook.
And was back then like olive oil like a thing? Was it always just cooked with butter?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. She's like, one of the simplest and nicest pleasures in life is like butter. So just go with it.
Just eat it.
But throughout the 1980s, she's a regular on like Good Morning America. She travels to Italy. She does like a 5-part miniseries on Italian food. The number of letters the channel receives just off the basis of kind of her Italian cooking show is just off the charts. From people telling her how much she's transformed their confidence in cooking, just generally, right? She made it so approachable. In 1991, she works with a Boston University to launch a Master's of Liberal Arts degree in gastronomy. So she's physically pioneering whole courses on how to teach cooking based on the back of her cookbook.
Yeah,
It's incredible.
She's got like an empire almost.
Yeah. In 1993, she's inducted into the Culinary Institute of American Hall of Fame, whatever that means.
She's just famous.
Yeah. Is it like, I don't know, it's like having your own star on the ground, like the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Uh-huh.
But this is...
Wooden spoons.
Do you reckon?
She's got her wooden spoon and some cement.
Yeah, maybe. But basically, that makes her the first woman. This is 1993. She's the first woman to be inducted into that Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
And it's 1993. I think that's
A
little bit too late,
Mm.
but also good going.
Yeah.
But sadly, in 1994, Julia's whole life ends up being turned upside down when Paul passes away at the age of 92. Apparently, it's a really long illness too. She knew it was coming for like 9 years or so, but still, like, it never really prepares you for when it eventually happens. Apparently, in 1974, I think, he suffered like mild brain damage after he got deprived of oxygen during a heart operation or something, which ended up leading to his decline. But eventually, in 1989, Julia's forced to put him into a care home.
Oh, right.
Because she just can't take care of him. She's also getting old herself.
I guess that's good innings, though. 92 years old.
It is very good innings, yeah. But apparently he just kept wandering off.
Which
Just
is down the
sad.
street.
Yeah.
Dementia, then.
Yeah, I think the brain damage caused dementia to settle in.
Mm.
But yeah, so she puts him in a care home, but then he ends up dying in 1994, and she's absolutely heartbroken. In her cookbook, the French Chef cookbook, she writes, the man who is always there, porter, dishwasher, official photographer, mushroomer, onion chopper, editor, fish illustrator, manager, taster, ideal man, resin poet, and husband.
Did a lot then.
Yeah, but she put the most important thing at the end.
Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah. After 10 years, on the 13th of August 2004, Julia also dies of kidney failure, unfortunately, just 2 days before her 92nd birthday.
So similar age to her husband.
Yeah, they lived pretty much exactly the same number of years,
Hmm.
pretty much. And what I love about her story is that when she's asked what her favorite meal was, which is also one of her last meals, she chose French onion soup.
From all the onions she's been cutting.
Yeah, not a French souffle or duck à l'orange or anything like that. Just French onion soup.
I guess it's easier to digest.
It is, but to me, I think kind of gives you the sort of poetic undertone to it. Like, she's made something that is very inaccessible, accessible, right? Throughout her whole career. Like, she's ripped out all of the snoot, and yet her favorite meal is like a staple of the working class, of the French kind of peasants of the day, right? French onion soup. So like, I like that she's brought something really prestigious to ordinary people, but yet her favorite meal out of all of that is something that a poor person would eat, which makes her so much more relatable.
Yeah, she's not all about like... I feel like
The caviar.
Yeah, and all like the glitz and glam and stuff like that. She likes things basic and straightforward.
Yeah. Crazy, isn't it? And Adam, that is the story, Julia Childs.
The crazy Elmo chef.
Yeah, she's nuts. I could sit and watch clips of her all day. She is so funny.
I'm interested to see what it's like days or the years before Gordon Ramsay. You had Julia Child.
Yeah. I would definitely, and I hope our listeners do, watch Julie and Julia. The film is just incredible. It's by far one of the most original autobiographies I've ever watched in my life.
Give it a what? Is it on Netflix?
On Netflix, if you're here in the UK. I don't know about America.
It's on one of them, I'm sure.
It's on one of them, yeah. But it's also unique in the way that it's told in this parallel storyline through this other woman called Julie Powell and the impact that her cooking has had on Julie. Do you know what I mean? Which emulates or kind of mirrors the impact that Julia Childs has had on so many people across the world, even across generations, right? Not just in the 50s when the book was released, but even today, like in the 2000s.
Yeah.
Just very, very unique.
She's earned her place in cooking history.
That's right, yeah. And like I said, Julie Powell's story is completely true, by the way. She did write this blog. It did become really massive. She really did cook all 524 recipes across an entire year. And the point is that doing that gave her a purpose that she felt that she didn't have before. And she turned a passion project into an entire career because off the back of that, she was lucky enough to be approached by a bunch of journalists to do other work, write a book about it. Do you know what I mean? So through this parallel story, it gives us a very key message. And that is, it's never too late to just give it a go. Like you are coming up to 40, you can try something different, but not when you're 60.
No, 60 is too late.
Too late.
40, I mean, think about Morgan Freeman. He became like an actor later on in life. Yeah.
So it wasn't like he doesn't have a young Morgan Freeman career.
I don't know if he had an amateur like background, but in terms of acting, I'm pretty sure it was later in life.
I don't think he even existed as a young man.
He's always been old.
He just was born, Morgan Freeman, old guy.
Yeah. But no, it's impressive. It's good. It's don't give up hope. You can turn a passion project into something bigger. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And if you're passionate enough about it, it almost doesn't matter if you fail commercially. Because I don't think that would have been a deal breaker for someone like Julia Childs, right? Because you'd still be fulfilled by the passion for doing the thing. But apparently you can still go and visit Julia Child's kitchen, the one that obviously Paul built for her all those years ago. She ended up donating the whole thing to the Smithsonian Museum back in like 2001. And it is complete with like 1,200 different items, like her pots and her pans, her cooker, her knives, set up exactly the same way that she had it when she was alive.
And it still has all the blood from all the cuts and stuff like that she'd have.
Yes. I hope not. I hope she didn't actually cut herself like the Dan Aykroyd skit. Can you imagine? But yeah.
So shall we do some member shout-outs?
Well, actually, we don't have any member shout-outs this week, Adam.
Oh, so no one loves us?
No, because we're actually going to shake things up a little bit.
Okay, what do you mean?
So I have built a little website for you guys where you guys can go off and you can browse through all of our available job listings that we have for the circus, and you can pick your own job.
Oh, so how do I go about doing this?
If you just follow the link in the show notes, you can click onto Find a Job, and that will actually take you to all of our available listings on the Compendium job board.
Yeah, so some jobs that are available right now are the head of clown to clown diplomacy role.
Oh, we've got this one's rehiring, the chief ticket stamp authenticity inspector. Click onto that and see why we're rehiring for that one. It says, the previous post holder attempted to resolve a lion-related dispute using introspective mediation rather than submitting Form L7, lion-related arbitration request. The lion considered this as an admission of guilt. That's why we're rehiring.
Yeah, so there's loads of roles that you can go search for on there. So it should be a little bit of fun, and you can feel a part of the circus.
Yes, you can also go ahead and submit your job description directly from that. Or if you've already got a position, then you can click onto the fill positions as long as you know your job description, which will be on the job listing, and the email address that you signed up to Patreon with. You'll be able to access that and give us a bit of an edit, and we'll read the best ones on a future episode.
Right. Shall we do the outro?
Let's do it. And so that brings us to the end of another fascinating foray into the compendium and assembly of fascinating things.
If today's episode has sparked your curiosity, then please do us a favor and follow us on your favorite podcast app. It truly makes a world of difference and helps more people discover the show.
And for our dedicated freaks out there, don't forget that next week's episode is already waiting for you on our Patreon. And as always, it's completely free to access.
And don't forget, if you want even more, then you can join our Certified Freaks tier to unlock our entire archive. You get to delve into exclusive content and you get a sneak peek at what's coming next.
We drop new episodes every Tuesday. And until then, remember, it's never too late to begin, but it is always too early to apologize for not being loud about it.
Well,
We'll see you next time.
see ya.
Spring is calling. Weddings, patio sessions, barbecues, and you want that drink vibe without sacrificing tomorrow. That's RK Zero Proof. As the world's first zero-proof spirits brand, RK created the warm molecule, giving you the smooth kick of whiskey or tequila with zero alcohol, 0 calories, 0 sugar, and all the peace of mind you need to enjoy every moment. Step into the zero-proof season at rkzeroproof.com.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.